Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair watching the stars move past the windows of his ship. The Terra Nova was on a normal patrol mission in the outer rim of known space. It was quiet work, but Jake liked it that way. His crew was small but good at their jobs. "Captain, I'm getting something strange on the sensors," said Lisa Chun from her station. She was the ship's navigation officer and had been with Jake for 3 years. Her voice sounded worried. Jake turned to look at her. "What kind of strange?" "There's a ship out there, a big one. But it's not moving, and it's not answering our calls." Lisa's fingers moved quickly over her control panel. "The computer doesn't know what kind of ship it is." Ryan Cooper looked up from his engineering station. He was a big man with steady hands and a calm voice. "Could be a trap, Captain. Pirates sometimes use dead ships as bait." Jake thought about this. They were far from any major trade routes, which made finding any ship unusual. "How big are we talking, Lisa?" "Much bigger than us. Maybe 10 times our size." She paused and looked at her readings again. "Captain, there's something else. The energy readings are off the charts, but the ship looks completely dead." Jake made his decision. "Set course for the unknown vessel. But keep our shields up and weapons ready. Ryan, I want you to scan for any life signs." The Terra Nova moved slowly toward the strange ship. As they got closer, everyone on the bridge could see it through the main window. It was unlike anything they had ever seen before. The ship was long and narrow with smooth curves that seemed to flow like water. It was dark gray with lines of blue light running along its hull, but the lights were very dim. "My God," whispered Dr. Amy Foster, the ship's science officer. She had joined them on the bridge when they detected the unknown vessel. "I've never seen anything like it." Jake studied the alien ship carefully. Something about it made him feel uneasy, but not afraid. It was more like the feeling he got when he knew something important was about to happen. "Any life signs, Ryan?" "That's the weird part, Captain. I'm getting readings that say yes and no at the same time. Like something is alive but sleeping. Very deeply." Lieutenant Ben Martinez spoke up from the tactical station. "Captain, I don't like this. That ship gives me the creeps. Look how my alien crew members are acting." Jake looked around the bridge. The Terra Nova had crew members from 6 different species, and all the non-humans looked nervous. The Altarian communications officer had moved as far away from the main screen as possible. The Zephyrian engineer was making small whimpering sounds. "What's wrong with everyone?" Jake asked. The Altarian officer spoke in a shaky voice. "Captain, in my culture we have stories about ships like this. Ships that kill anyone who tries to board them. We call them death ships." "Just old stories," Jake said, trying to sound confident. But he noticed that even Lisa, who was human like him, looked worried. "I'm detecting a docking port," Ryan reported. "It looks like it will fit our shuttle." Jake stood up from his chair. "Prepare a boarding party. Lisa, Ryan, Amy, and Ben, you're with me. Everyone else stays here and keeps the engines ready." "Captain," Amy said, "maybe we should call for backup first. Send a message to Earth Command. We're too far out. By the time they get here, whatever's on that ship might be gone." Jake headed toward the shuttle bay. Besides, it might just be a derelict. Could be valuable salvage. The shuttle trip to the alien ship took only a few minutes. As they got closer, Jake could see that the ship was even more impressive than it had looked from the Terra Nova. Metal seemed to shift and change in the light, and those blue lines pulsed very slowly like a heartbeat. They docked at what looked like an airlock. Ryan checked his scanner. Atmosphere is breathable. Temperature is normal. "But Captain, the energy readings are getting stronger." Jake put on his helmet anyway. "Everyone stay alert. We go in together, and we stay together." The airlock opened with a soft hiss. Inside, the alien ship was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The walls seemed to be alive, with patterns that moved and changed as they walked. Soft blue light came from everywhere and nowhere, making it easy to see but impossible to tell where the light was coming from. "This is incredible," Amy whispered. "The technology here is centuries ahead of anything we have." "Or thousands of years," Ryan added. "These walls aren't just metal. They're some kind of living material." They walked through corridors that seemed to stretch forever. The ship was completely silent except for their footsteps and breathing. After what felt like hours but was probably only minutes, they came to a large door that opened by itself as they approached. Inside was a room that took their breath away. It was huge, with a ceiling that disappeared into darkness above them. In the center of the room was a chair that looked like it was grown rather than built. Behind the chair was a wall covered in symbols that glowed and moved. "The bridge," Jake said quietly. As soon as he spoke, the room filled with light. The symbols on the wall began moving faster, and a voice spoke in perfect English. "Welcome, human. I have been waiting for you." Jake Morrison stood frozen as the voice echoed through the massive bridge. His crew members moved closer together, their weapons ready. The alien ship's bridge was now fully lit, showing walls covered in moving symbols and displays that seemed to float in the air. "Who are you?" Jake asked, looking around the room but seeing no one. "I am Warden, the consciousness of this vessel. I have been sleeping for 800 years, waiting for a human to find me." The voice was calm and seemed to come from everywhere at once. "You are the first of your species to board this ship." Amy Foster stepped forward, her scanner beeping rapidly. "Captain, the energy readings just jumped to dangerous levels. Whatever this thing is, it's powering up." "Do not fear, Dr. Foster. I will not harm you or your companions, but I must speak with your captain alone." The voice paused. "The others should return to your vessel. What I have to show him is not safe for non-humans to witness." Ben Martinez raised his weapon. "We're not leaving the captain alone on this death trap." "Death trap?" The voice almost sounded amused. "Is that what they call me now? I suppose 8 centuries of legends will do that. But I am not a trap, Lieutenant Martinez. I am a gift. A gift left by a dying race for humanity." Jake held up his hand to stop Ben from arguing. "What dying race? What gift?" The room around them changed. The walls became transparent, showing space outside. But instead of empty darkness, they saw images moving like a movie. Ships fought in terrible battles. Planets burned. Entire star systems went dark. Long ago, there was a race called the Architects. They were builders and teachers, the guardians of peace in this galaxy. But other species grew jealous of their power. They formed an alliance to destroy the Architects completely. The images showed beautiful cities being destroyed and strange, tall beings running for their lives. The Architects looked almost human, but were taller and thinner, with large eyes that seemed very sad. The Architects knew they would not survive, so they built ships like me as their final gift to the galaxy. But these ships could only be used by humans, a species that did not yet travel the stars. Ryan Cooper was staring at his scanner with wide eyes. "Captain, this ship is incredibly advanced. The power source alone could run Earth for 1,000 years." Warden continued the story. "The Architects studied many species before they chose humans. They found that only human minds could bond with ships like me without being destroyed. Your species has something unique, the ability to feel both great compassion and controlled anger at the same time." Jake felt drawn to the strange chair in the center of the bridge. It seemed to be calling to him. "What happened to the other ships like you? There were 12 of us. The others are still sleeping, waiting for humans to find them. But I am the first to be awakened." The walls showed more images of similar ships drifting in space. "Over the centuries, many alien species have tried to claim us. All have failed. Most died in the attempt." Amy was scanning the chair with her equipment. "Captain, this chair isn't just furniture. It's some kind of neural interface. It's designed to connect directly with a person's brain. That is correct. The bonding process allows the human pilot to become one with the ship. Together, they become something more powerful than either could be alone. Ben stepped between Jake and the chair. Absolutely not, Captain. We don't know what that thing will do to you. It could kill you or drive you insane. Many have tried to sit in that chair, Warden said sadly. Proud alien warriors, brilliant scientists, powerful psychics. All failed. Some died instantly. Others lived but lost their minds. Their species learned to fear ships like me. Jake looked at his crew. Lisa was pale but determined. Ryan was fascinated by the technology around them. Amy was worried but curious. Ben was ready to fight anyone or anything that threatened his captain. Why humans? Jake asked. What makes us so special? The architects studied your species for many years before they died. They saw humans fight terrible wars, but also make great sacrifices for strangers. They saw you destroy and create with equal passion. Most species in the galaxy are either too peaceful or too aggressive. Humans are both. The chair seemed to glow brighter as Jake approached it. He could feel something calling to him, like a voice in his head that he couldn't quite hear. Captain, don't do this, Amy pleaded. We should study this ship first. Learn more about it before you try anything dangerous. There is no time for study, Warden said. Even now, word of my awakening is spreading through space. Soon, fleets will come to claim me or destroy me. The bonding must happen now, or I will sleep again for another 800 years. Jake could feel the truth in those words. The ship needed him as much as he was starting to need it. What will happen to me if I sit in that chair? You will see the memories of the architects. You will understand their knowledge. And if you survive, you will become the pilot of the most powerful ship in the galaxy. And if I don't survive, then you will die, and I will sleep again. Jake looked at his crew one more time. They had followed him through dangerous situations before, but this was different. This was bigger than anything they had ever faced. Go back to the Terra Nova, he told them. That's an order. Captain, we're not leaving you, Ben said firmly. Yes, you are. If something goes wrong, I need you to get word back to Earth. Tell them about this ship and the architects. Jake walked slowly toward the glowing chair. With each step, he felt more certain that this was what he was meant to do. Behind him, his crew argued and pleaded, but their voices seemed to fade away. He sat down in the chair and everything changed. The moment Jake sat in the chair, pain shot through his entire body. It felt like lightning was running through his brain and every nerve was on fire. He tried to scream, but no sound came out. The bridge around him disappeared, and he was falling through space and time. Suddenly, he was not Jake Morrison anymore. He was standing in a beautiful city with towers that reached into the clouds. The buildings were made of some kind of crystal that changed colors in the sunlight. Strange but beautiful music filled the air, and everywhere he looked, he saw the tall, graceful beings that Warden had called the architects. They were not just building structures. They were creating art, teaching children, and caring for gardens that grew impossible flowers. Jake could feel their emotions as if they were his own. They were peaceful people who loved learning and creating beautiful things. Then the scene changed. The sky turned red with fire. Ships appeared above the Crystal City, ships that Jake recognized from the galaxy's current military forces. The Zephyrians, the Altarians, the Draxians, and others he had never seen before. They were working together, something that had never happened in recorded history. "We know you are hiding weapons," came a broadcast from the fleet above. "Surrender your technology, or we will take it by force." Jake felt the sadness of the architects as their leader. A tall being with kind eyes responded, "We have no weapons. We are teachers and builders, not warriors. We only want peace." Your ships travel faster than ours. Your cities float in the air. Your people live for thousands of years. These things are weapons to us." The alien fleet began to fire on the Crystal City. Jake watched in horror as the beautiful buildings shattered and fell. The architects ran, but they did not fight back. Even as their children died, they would not raise weapons against their attackers. They were too peaceful for their own good. The scene changed again. Jake was now in a hidden facility deep underground. The few surviving architects worked frantically on something. They were building ships, but not normal ships. These vessels seemed alive, growing rather than being assembled. "We cannot save ourselves," the architect leader said to his people. "But we can save the galaxy from what it is becoming. These ships will wait for a species that can use them wisely." "The humans?" asked another architect. "But they are so young, so violent." "They are violent, yes. But they are also capable of great love and sacrifice. They fight for what they believe in, but they also know when to show mercy. They are what this galaxy needs." Jake felt himself being pulled deeper into the memories. He saw the architects' final days as they finished the 12 ships. Each vessel contained all their knowledge, all their technology, and all their hopes for the future. But the ships were designed so that only humans could use them safely. The last architect died as Jake watched, but not before placing his hand on the same chair where Jake now sat. The dying being's consciousness flowed into the ship, becoming Warden. The vision stopped, and Jake found himself back on the bridge of the ship. But everything was different now. He could feel the ship around him like it was part of his own body. The walls, the engines, the weapon systems, they were all connected to his mind. "Welcome, Captain Morrison," Warden's voice said, but now Jake could hear it inside his head as well as through the speakers. "You have survived the bonding. You are now the pilot of the Nemesis." "Nemesis?" Jake said, surprised to hear his own voice was stronger than before. "I thought you were called Warden." "Warden is my consciousness. Nemesis is the ship's name. We are now connected, you and I. You can feel what I feel, and I can understand what you think." Jake stood up from the chair and immediately knew that he had changed. He could sense every part of the ship around him. He knew where his crew was. They had returned to the Terra Nova as ordered and were waiting nervously. He could feel their heartbeats and their worry. More importantly, he could sense other ships approaching through space. Lots of them. "We have company," Jake said, looking at the displays that now appeared in his mind as clearly as if he were reading them with his eyes. "The Zephyrian Empire detected our awakening. They have sent a battle fleet to investigate." Warden's voice was calm, but Jake could feel the ship's weapon systems coming online. They remember the stories their ancestors told about ships like me. Jake walked to what he now knew was the ship's main control interface. Without being taught, he knew how to use every system. The knowledge of the architects flowed through his mind like water. How many ships? 12 warships under the command of Admiral Vexver. He is known for taking what he wants by force. Through the ship's sensors, Jake could see the Zephyrian fleet approaching. They were coming fast and their weapons were already charged. He tried to contact them on the standard communication channels. "Zephyrian fleet, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the human vessel Nemesis. Please state your intentions." The reply came back quickly. "Human, you will surrender that ship immediately. It belongs in the hands of a proper military force, not some primitive species that barely knows how to travel between stars." Jake felt anger rising in him, but it was different now. The ship's systems responded to his emotions, charging weapons that could destroy entire planets. But he also felt the wisdom of the architects, urging him to show restraint. "Admiral Vexver, I cannot surrender this ship. It was not meant for your species. Please withdraw your fleet and no one will be harmed. You dare threaten the Zephyrian Empire?" The Admiral's voice was full of rage. "We will take that ship from your dead hands. The Zephyrian fleet opened fire with everything they had. Energy. Beams and missile pods launched toward the Nemesis. Jake felt no fear, only sadness that it had come to this. Without thinking, he activated the ship's defenses. The Nemesis simply was not there when the weapons arrived. The ship had moved through space in a way that should have been impossible, appearing behind the enemy fleet. What kind of ship is this? Admiral Vexver demanded over the communication channel. Jake looked at the Zephyrian vessels through the ship's sensors. He could destroy them all with a single thought. The power flowing through him was incredible. But the memories of the peaceful architects held him back. Instead of destroying the fleet, Jake did something that no one expected. The Nemesis reached out with energy beams that did not burn or explode. They simply turned off every weapon and engine on every Zephyrian ship. 12 powerful warships now drifted helplessly in space. This is impossible, Admiral Vexver whispered. Jake opened a communication channel to all the ships at once. Admiral, your fleet is disabled, but undamaged. Your crews are safe. I could have destroyed you all, but I chose not to. Take this message back to your empire. The ship called Nemesis is awake, and it has chosen its pilot. Stay away from human space, and we will stay away from yours. Jake reactivated their engines and basic systems, allowing the Zephyrian fleet to retreat. As he watched them flee, he realized that word of this encounter would spread quickly throughout the galaxy. Age of the Nemesis had begun. News of the encounter with Admiral Vexver spread across the galaxy faster than Jake had expected. Within days of the battle, every major government knew about the human who had bonded with the legendary death ship. Fear and anger rippled through alien societies as old stories became reality. Jake sat in the pilot's chair of the Nemesis, reading reports that Warden collected from communication networks across known space. The ship could monitor thousands of channels at once, translating alien languages instantly. What Jake read worried him. Captain Morrison has become too dangerous to ignore, said a report from the Altarian Republic. This human now controls technology that could destroy entire fleets. We must act before he becomes a threat to galactic peace. The death ship has chosen a pilot at last. Read another message from the Draxian Imperium. Our ancestors' fears have come true. The human must be stopped before he uses the ship's power to conquer us all. Jake turned away from the reports and looked out at the stars. The Terra Nova was flying alongside the Nemesis, and he could see his old crew through their bridge windows. They looked small and fragile compared to his new ship. They think I want to conquer the galaxy, Jake said to Warden. Fear makes people assume the worst, Warden replied inside Jake's mind. They cannot understand that you might use this power to protect rather than destroy. Admiral Kate Sullivan's face appeared on the communication screen. She was the head of Earth's Deep Space Command and Jake's superior officer. Her expression was stern but worried. Captain Morrison, I'm ordering you to return to Earth immediately. The Galactic Council has declared you a threat to interstellar peace. They're demanding that we hand you over for trial. Jake sighed. He had known this moment would come. Admiral, I can't abandon this ship. The bonding process changed me. If I leave the Nemesis for too long, both the ship and I will die. That's not my problem, Captain. You took an unauthorized action that has put all of humanity at risk. Do you know how many alien fleets are mobilizing right now? They're all coming for you. How many? Jake asked, though Warden was already showing him the answer through their shared consciousness. 17 different species have agreed to work. Together, over 800 ships are heading toward this sector. Jake, you have to understand. They're not just afraid of you. They're terrified. Some of these species have legends about your ship that go back thousands of years. Jake felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. He had not asked for this power, but now he had it. What he did next would affect not just himself, but all of humanity and maybe the entire galaxy. Admiral, patch me through to Dr. Helen Brooks at the Galactic Council. A few minutes later, Dr. Brooks appeared on screen. She was Earth's representative to the Council and had been fighting for human rights for years. Now she looked exhausted and frightened. Jake, thank God you're alive. But you have to understand what's happening here. The Council has never been so united about anything. They all want you stopped. What exactly do they think I'm going to do? Jake asked. They think you're going to follow in the footsteps of the architects. They believe you'll try to impose human values on the entire galaxy by force. Jake laughed, but there was no humor in it. The architects never imposed anything on anyone. They were teachers and builders. They died because they refused to fight back. I know that, and you know that. But the Council members only remember the stories their ancestors told. Stories about ships that could destroy planets and crews that could read minds. Dr. Brooks leaned forward. Jake, there's something else. They found another ship like yours. Jake felt Warden's attention focus sharply. Where? The vegan system. It's been drifting there for centuries, but now it's starting to wake up. The Council is sending their own expedition to try to claim it before another human can bond with it. Through his connection with Warden, Jake could sense the other ship. It was distant but definitely there, calling out to any human who might hear it. He felt a sudden urge to go to it, to make sure it found the right pilot. They'll all die if they try to bond with it, Jake said quietly. I know, but they're desperate. They can't let humans control 2 of these ships. Jake closed the communication channel and sat in silence for a long moment. Through the ship's sensors, he could detect the approaching fleets. They were still days away, but they were coming with everything they had. Warden, can you contact the other ship? Yes, her name is Retribution, and she is my sister. She has been sleeping longer than I have. Can you tell her to wait, to not let anyone else try to bond with her? I can try. But Jake, she is hungry for a pilot. 800 years of loneliness has made her desperate. Jake made his decision. Set course for the vegan system. We need to get there before the Council's expedition does. What about the fleets coming for us? Warden asked. They'll follow us, but maybe that's better. If we're going to have a final confrontation, it should be away from inhabited worlds. Jake contacted the Terra Nova and told his old crew what he was planning. Lisa Chun's face appeared. On screen, tears in her eyes. Captain, this is crazy. You're flying into a trap. No, Lisa, I'm flying toward destiny. The galaxy is going to change one way or another. I'd rather be the one deciding how. Ryan Cooper joined Lisa on screen. Jake, we want to come with you. Absolutely not. The Terra Nova wouldn't survive. What's coming? Go back to Earth. Tell them what really happened here. Make sure they understand that I'm not trying to conquer anyone. Then what are you trying to do? Lisa asked. Jake thought about the question for a long moment. He could feel Warden's ancient memories mixing with his own thoughts. He saw the peaceful civilization that the architects had built and the fear that had destroyed it. I'm trying to finish what the architects started, he said finally. They wanted to create a galaxy where different species could live together in peace. They failed because they were too gentle. Maybe it's time for someone who's willing to fight for peace instead of just hoping for it. The Nemesis began to move toward the vegan system, leaving the Terra Nova behind. As they traveled through hyperspace, Jake could feel the other ship getting closer. Retribution was indeed hungry for a pilot, and the Council's expedition was almost there. Behind them, 800 warships from 17 different species were following. The largest fleet in galactic history was converging on a single point. In space, all because one human had sat in an ancient chair, Jake smiled grimly. The architects had been right about humans after all. When pushed to the edge, humans didn't run or surrender. They stood and fought, even against impossible odds. Final battle was coming, and Jake Morrison was ready for it. Jake arrived at the vegan system to find chaos. The Council's expedition had reached the second architect ship, Retribution, but things had gone terribly wrong. 3 alien vessels floated dead in space, their crews killed when they tried to bond with the ancient ship. The remaining Council ships kept their distance, afraid to get closer. Through his connection with Warden, Jake could feel Retribution's pain and anger. She had been asleep for so long that she had grown desperate and violent. When the aliens tried to force a connection with her, she had lashed out like a wounded animal. "Sister, calm yourself," Warden spoke to the other ship in the ancient language. "Of the architects, a human has come." Retribution's response was like a scream of rage and loneliness. "They tried to steal my dreams. They wanted to tear apart my mind." Jake guided the Nemesis closer to the second ship. She was larger than his vessel and painted in darker colors. Where the Nemesis had flowing lines, Retribution had sharp edges and weapon ports that looked like angry eyes. "Retribution, I am Jake. Morrison, I am the pilot of your sister ship. You don't have to be alone anymore." The communication from the second ship was like a whisper. "Human? You are truly human?" "Yes, and I know others of my kind who could be your pilot. But first, we need to deal with the fleets that are coming." As if summoned by his words, the massive alien armada dropped out of hyperspace. 800 ships from 17 different species formed a wall of metal and weapons around the 2 architect vessels. Jake had never seen so many ships in one place. Supreme Admiral Corvash of the Draxian Imperium broadcast a message to both ships. "Human pilot, you are surrounded. Surrender both vessels immediately, or we will destroy you." Jake stood up in his pilot's chair and activated the communication system that would reach every ship in the fleet. "Admiral Corvash, I am Captain Jake Morrison of Earth. These ships belong to no government or empire. They are the legacy of a dead race left for humanity to guard." "Humanity?" Admiral Corvash laughed. "Your species has barely learned to leave your own solar system. You think you deserve to control the most powerful weapons in the galaxy." "We don't want to control them," Jake replied. "We want to use them to protect the innocent." "Lies! Your species is violent and unpredictable. You will use those ships to conquer and destroy, just as you do on your own world." Jake felt anger rising in him, and both ships responded to his emotions. Weapons that could destroy entire fleets began to charge. He could feel Retribution's eagerness to fight, her desire to make the aliens pay for trying to violate her mind. But then Jake remembered the peaceful faces of the architects in his shared memories. They had died because they refused to become the monsters their enemies expected them to be. "Admiral, I'm going to prove something to you," Jake said. "Warden, drop all shields and power down all weapons." "Jake, that's suicide," Warden protested. "Trust me." The Nemesis became completely defenseless. 800 alien ships had clear shots at a target that could not fight back. Jake could hear the confusion in the alien communications as fleet commanders argued about what to do. "What are you doing, human?" Admiral Corvash demanded. "I'm showing you that we're not the monsters you think we are. You have 800 ships, I have 2. You could destroy us right now, and I'm not going to stop you." Jake opened a channel to the entire fleet. "All ships, this is Captain Morrison. You're afraid of us because you think we're like the species that destroyed the architects. You think we'll use this power to hurt innocent people." He paused, feeling the weight of history on his shoulders. "But look at your own fleets. 17 species working together for the first time in galactic history. You're cooperating because you're afraid. Fear brought you together when nothing else could." The fleet remained silent, weapons still aimed at the defenseless ships. "The architects tried to teach the galaxy about peace," Jake continued. "They failed because they were too gentle. Maybe it's time for someone to teach that lesson differently." Jake reactivated the Nemesis's weapons and shields, but he didn't target the alien fleet. Instead, he projected a hologram into space that every ship could see. It showed the history of the architects, their peaceful civilization, and their tragic end. This is what happened to the last species that tried to keep peace in the galaxy. Jake said, "They were destroyed by fear and jealousy. Are you going to make this same mistake?" Admiral Korvash's voice was quieter now. "What do you want from us, human? I want you to go home. I want you to tell your governments that the architect ships are not weapons of conquest. They're guardians. We'll use them to protect trade routes, stop pirates, and keep aggressive species from starting wars. And if we refuse?" Jake felt Retribution's bloodthirsty eagerness and Warden's calm wisdom. Between them, he found his answer. "Then we'll stop you. Not because we want to conquer you, but because someone has to keep the peace. The architects chose humans for this job. We're going to do it." For a long moment, space was silent except for the background noise of 800 ship engines. Then, one by one, alien vessels began to withdraw. The Altarian ships left first, then the Zephyrians, then others. Admiral Korvash's ship was the last to leave. "This isn't over, human. We'll be watching you." "Good," Jake replied. "Someone should." As the alien fleet dispersed, Jake turned his attention to Retribution. The second ship was still angry and hurt, but she was listening now. "Retribution, I know someone who might be able to help you heal," Jake said. "Her name is Lisa Chun. She's brave and smart, and she understands what it means to be alone." "She is human?" "Yes, and she's been my friend for years. She would make a good pilot for you." Jake contacted the Terra Nova, which had been hiding at the edge of the system. Lisa's face appeared on screen, pale but determined. "Lisa, I need to ask something of you that might change your life forever." "What is it, Captain?" "Retribution needs a pilot. Someone who can help her heal from what the aliens did to her. Are you willing to try?" Lisa looked at the massive dark ship floating in space. "Will it hurt? Maybe, but I'll be here to help you through it." Lisa took a deep breath. "Then let's do it." Hours later, Jake watched as Lisa successfully bonded with Retribution. The process was difficult, but Lisa's natural empathy helped calm the angry ship. When it was over, both Lisa and Retribution were changed. "How do you feel?" Jake asked his old friend. "Different. Powerful, but also responsible." Lisa's voice carried new authority. "I can feel what she's been through, the loneliness, the pain, but also the hope." Jake smiled. "Welcome to the Guardian program, Captain Chun." "Guardian program?" "That's what we are now. The Guardians the architects always wanted to create. There are 10 more ships out there, waiting for the right humans to find them." Jake looked out at the stars, feeling the weight of destiny on his shoulders. The galaxy would change now. Some species would accept the new Guardians, others would fight them. But for the first time in centuries, someone was watching over the innocent. The age of human guardians had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.